Hi, everybody, and welcome to the April Laughter Yoga Australia podcast. This is going to be a fun one, I can just tell. What we do every month, we just interview interesting people in and around the Laughter Yoga Australia community. They're all interesting, but some of them are. Have some really interesting stories and certainly the work that they're doing. And my guest today is Mary Kate Hoogland. I pronounced that correctly, haven't I?
Yes.
Great, because I always spell it wrong. You've corrected me several times. You haven't spelled it right. So at least I can pronounce it. And Mary Kate is very special to us, and it will all evolve why as we go along. Mary Kate, thank you for giving up your time now. It looks as though you're in an office or something somewhere, but where are you exactly?
I'm actually in my coaster traveling for the moment. We're heading all the way along the coast from New South Wales down to Victoria.
Lovely. So you're heading my way.
Yeah, we're heading your way, Merv.
When you
Good
get
way
here,
to go.
we're up for a coffee and a chat. And where are you exactly now?
Traralgon.
Traralgon. And what was interesting, Mary Kate said, "Oh, I'm Traralgon, Bairnsdale. My brother's in Bairnsdale." So I know
Ah,
that area very, very well in the world. So thanks for pulling over and stopping.
yeah,
Why are
that's
you
okay.
traveling why are you traveling in your camper?
Oh, because there's nothing better to do than traveling in the cab. No, visiting family and taking a break and work-life balance.
Good on you. Well done. Well done. Very
Yeah.
important. So I know who you are now and who you have been recently with Laughter Yoga, but I want to take you back. This isn't therapy. I don't want you to go back to as a child, but I want you to go back before Laughter Yoga. Who was Mary Kate then?
Laughter yoga's been part of my life before I even knew there was such a word as laughter yoga because when I was a teenager, my dad and I would always just laugh. So that's an obscure question for me because I have been laughing since Dr. Kataria and everyone else in the world has been laughing. Uh, yeah, but who was I then? Uh, Prior to laughter yoga, I was someone who just really enjoyed laughing and understood the benefits.
Cool. And
Yeah.
your particular skill set and your
Yeah. I knew that's
occupation.
what you were asking.
We'll
But
get
I was
there.
like,
We'll get
wait a
there.
minute, that's like, hold on a minute. Okay, so I studied natural therapies when I left high school, so a naturopath, and then I went to uni and did exercise science and rehabilitation.
Let's stop there. What is a naturopath? Because there's homeopaths, there's osteopaths, there's all these
Yeah.
sorts of paths. What is a naturopath, please?
And that's a good question because there's naturopaths and then there's other naturopaths. Like even
Indeed,
within naturopaths, there's
indeed,
so
indeed.
what my studies were was a collection of all the the natural modalities, reflexology, aromatherapy, herbal medicine. I did a lot of practical physical therapy, massage, shiatsu. And communications as well as nutrition. So that it encompasses a lot. So it's fair. So I guess a lot of people sort of head down one path or the other. I kind of head down the path of more the aromatherapy reflexology, but that it's not limited to that because when I see a person and they need to work on nutrition, I clearly work on nutrition. And then if they're in pain, I look at pain. It's very broad and holistic.
You just mentioned the word that was on my mind, so you've read my mind, holistic. And holistic is encompassing everything with the body, mind, and spirit. So, how do you know? How do you uncover which one to bring out and exactly what to use at what particular time?
It will be dependent on the person coming to me and what they kind of are expecting a little bit. But I do use a tool, it's hair tissue mineral analysis. So that
Oh,
kind of sets
sorry,
me
sorry.
apart. Yeah.
Time out again. Say that slowly, and I'm not going to spell it.
Hair tissue mineral analysis.
Hair
If I say
tissue.
hair,
Hair. Well, that's why I missed it.
hair,
Hair,
that's why you missed it.
hair tissue
Mineral, the minerals
mineral.
in the hair
Oh,
analysis.
oh, explain that
So,
more.
and Yeah, so this is actually a very old and um, precise reading of what our body is doing. And
Oh,
it's sort of just not as common as it should be. But it used to be, you can read books and it used to be the sort of standard. And then a lot of the doctors got into blood reading. But the difference is blood reading is transient, right? So as in what if I ate a banana yesterday, my potassium would be high in my blood, and then it transit transitions out into the tissues. The hair gives you a 3 month snapshot of what's going on with you, and it gives me a profile of what could be going on with your thyroid, what could be going on with your adrenals, what's going on with your metabolism, etc., in all body systems. And then I'm able to go, well, actually, you need aromatherapy because your emotions need some support, and your parasympathetic well, I'm not going to be too wordy. Your nervous system needs support. You might need laughter yoga because your nervous system needs support, or you might need reflexology or exercise rehab. It depends on what this report comes back with.
oh wow.
Yeah.
So
It,
the report. So I know how they take a blood test.
yeah.
How do you take a hair tissue?
From the nape of the back of the skull here, and
Oh,
we cut the hair well, not your hair, sorry, Merv,
well,
would have to take it.
I'm sorry. One of my biggest bane in life is I shave my head daily. There's not too much hair there, but I shave it daily. But there's always this stuff down at the back that I can never actually reach. That I'm continually going. Oh, I wish I could get rid of. So that's the telltale hair.
That's the part. And it needs to be 3 centimeters long because it goes about a centimeter a month. So you could have a little rat's tail, and we cut it off right at the base, and we send it away to a lab actually in Texas.
Oh, might
And
as
it
well.
comes back with this incredibly thorough report, which I interpret. And
Hmm.
then and that's the baseline I kind of work with.
Where on earth did you find this and how did you get into that as the particular modality? This is very unique. I've never
Yeah,
heard of this
yeah.
at all.
Yeah. I found several. It's not been in my practice always. It's maybe the last several years,
Okay.
and it. I studied chemistry at uni,
Okay.
and then I loved the understand. I wanted something that would be very precise that I could interpret. And I studied it. I It just came into my world, and I went and studied it.
What's its origins, Mary Kate? Where does this go back to? Who and where actually developed this practice?
Yeah, there was David White in America. There's sort of these later scientists, doctors who maybe in the last 40, 50 years have been re-establishing it.
Okay.
But it is like the basis of it is how doctors understand all chemistry, as in what we understand what's going on with potassium, calcium, magnesium. Calcium's a good one to explain because magnesium. We know that calcium is in is used in cells for the triggering, which is why minerals are so important. Minerals are so important. They're called the spark plugs of life. I'm pretty sure David White coined that term. And so we know that like a calcium needs to be released into a cell for then muscle contraction to occur. So everything we're doing, there's calcium firing off, right? And then we know that magnesium will come in and relax the muscle. So there's that relationship. And if that is in balance, they're like twin sisters getting along. They're perfect. Well, kind of not twin sisters. They're sisters getting along. And then, but if they're out of balance, they're causing depression and fatigue, and they're causing all these things. So these minerals have been known in the medical world for forever as, but and that's where medications are created from, this understanding of these synergistic or antagonist relationships of minerals. That's a good question, though. I don't know how far it goes back. I haven't kind of looked into that. Hmm.
It sounds to me like a very ancient practice revisited. You know, where
That would,
they'd actually get some
Yeah,
cells or some
yeah.
hair or something like that and analyze it somehow, and it just seemed to be revisited. So,
Well,
um,
if you think about it, we know that we can take hair from century-old um, uh, people,
indeed,
and find out what's going on. So
indeed.
yes, yeah.
Oh wow, fascinating. So the old saying, and it sprung to mind then, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. Why? Why did they
Yeah.
do that?
It's telling you to go and get some health and wellness help.
That's interesting because we coined that phrase when something rather remarkable happens in our world. It's often quite shocking, and oh my goodness, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I never knew the origins of that, but I'm getting closer to it. So, did it help that you had a chemistry background
Oh,
to understand all this stuff?
yes. And you
Okay.
know what, Merv? I in hindsight, when I was at uni studying chemistry, I really didn't get it very well. I wasn't
Yep.
the best student. And now 20 something years later, I wish I could go back into that auditorium with the lecturers and go, I get it. And, and I wish I could relearn all that they were trying to teach me, because now I kind of can piece it all together and go, ah.
Ah,
So
dear,
a
oh
hundred
dear.
percent, it definitely helped. You have to have some level of understanding of that. Yes.
Oh, wow. Now I'm going to struggle here, but I'm going to go back to a very famous Australian singer who sang, If the Chemistry is Right. I'm
Uh-huh.
going, wow, if the chemistry is. Ross Wilson. Ross Wilson did that with his band a long time ago. What is the chemistry? Is that, Mary Kate, a scientific term for body, mind, spirit balance?
Mhm. We're still talking about the hair tissue mineral
We are,
analysis. Okay,
yes,
okay. I'm
yes.
like, because that's a big spiritual question. Uh, what's the chemistry? As in, we're having to understand. It isn't like very complex chemistry, but this balance, which minerals. Well, first of all, the periodic table was helpful because you have to be able to know what K means or Ca means, the
Yep,
basic level.
yep,
And then the understanding when the report comes back of what works with what will balance a mineral out and what will antagonize a heavy metal, because the report comes back with heavy metals as well, right? So it will be like, well, how do I get lead out of this person? if they've been if the lead is so high, or how do I get mercury out of this person because it's clearly causing problems, or arsenics that I've been coming up in my reports because there's people who are changing over from cigarette smoking to vaping and there's arsenic in that. So it's like, how do I understand to get the balance right, that through food, ideally through nutrition,
yep.
when we look at exposure, well, how are you being exposed to this in the first place? Are you still being exposed? Do you have mercury fillings that are slowly leaching into your body and the body's then deposited in its tissues? So we're like an investigator. Is there exposure? We need to get rid of the exposure, the immediate exposure. We need to see what we can avoid and what do we include. And when we look at the include, I have to understand the chemistry on at least a basic level, to understand, okay, I need to balance out sodium and magnesium. And if I give you too much supplementation, that's going to cause the opposite effect of what we're trying to achieve. So that's the level that we're talking about.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's link this to laughter. So you've always said you're a laugher with your dear dad, which is outstanding. To be able to laugh with family members is very important. But when did laughter actually present itself as the aha? Oh my goodness,
Mm.
there's more to it than this. What was that point of time for you, Mary Kate?
I used to attend laughter yoga in the park many, many years ago. And even when I was traveling in Europe, you'd find these laughter yoga people, and it was such a common ground. You didn't have to speak the language. I remember being in Vietnam once, and they were around the lake, and I just joined them, and they're like, oh, and we connected. You connect because here we are laughing. And so I was joining, and then I decided it was actually maybe it wasn't too long back. It was sort of maybe 6 years ago. I said, okay, there's I I want to implement this in a more formal way into things I'm doing with groups. So
Yep.
I'm doing fitness, and I'm doing my with the we didn't even touch on that side, and it doesn't even matter. But the exercise rehab component that I do, there's a lot of pain. So I understood that this laughter could to reduce the pain, but people kind of didn't want to just start laughing, even though I did do the laughing that I knew without being trained as a facilitator. I kind of implemented it into some clients' sessions. And
Yep.
then I went, all right, I need to make this formal. So that's that's how it evolved. People were, in actual fact, there was some clients who were in my exercise rehab part of my clients, and one of them actually asked, "Do you do laughter yoga?" So I'm not
Mhm.
a, I can, let's see where this goes. And that's why I did the training.
Wonderful. Rehab from what?
Oh, oh, this guy, NDIS. So it's sort of not a rehab specific, it was continual maintenance of some things. Yeah.
But you have worked with rehab groups, I believe.
Many years. I was working up in Newcastle in the John Hunter Hospital and with stroke patients, as well as in the community section, really. They post operative, and they'd
Hmm.
come to me for hydrotherapy and land-based exercise and rehab. And I've done a number of things over the 20 years where I've run my own rehab groups and diabetes groups. So but more sort of one-on-one, but also, yeah, groups and one-on-one with the rehab stuff.
What I found interesting about rehab groups is you'd think, oh, they'd be really upbeat because they've recovered or recovering. No, no, they've lost something really quite dear to them, and
Yeah.
they were really quite down. So that was my deep
Mm.
understanding of that. You've worked very successfully with youth groups as well. Can you tell us some stories and about how best to work with those groups? You did an amazing presentation at one of our conferences that was in Sydney about this very topic. Can you talk more about that? Because they are my kryptonite, they are my nemesis. And the older I get, the further away from them I get. So tell us some stories about that, how you got into it, what you do in particular that works so well with those groups for
Yeah.
yourself.
That evolved because I had one-on-one NDIS clients, um, disability clients who were finding that the laughter yoga was appropriate for them. And then I was actually asked to do some youth work. In amongst all that time, I also work with juvenile justice groups. So that wasn't laughter yoga specific, but I had all that sort of experience with these kids who were really depressed. And I'm working with people who were homeless.
Yep.
And then so it sort of evolved in that way, that I'd had this experience with these people who just, how do we bring people out of their like you just said, they've lost something with the rehab.
Yep.
These kids have lost their spark of their youth. So then I was working with and a lot of kids do. So the laughter yoga sort of triggers something, it switches something in them because they have to let go. So how do I work with them? I kind of see that from that perspective that they're probably, I remember when I was a kid, I found laughter so useful for all of the things that you have to experience as a teenager. And so it's sort of it's I guess in some ways it's why some people go and watch a movie and completely switch themselves up. Laughter yoga does that, but gives you all these benefits. So I think about that when I'm working with youth, in that they're not really wanting to do this in a group setting. They're kind of being told that this is what our curriculum is doing. We're doing this today. And so you have to find different unique ways. Like, they love competition.
Uh-huh.
Um, Even if it's a subtle competition that they don't realize it's competition, who can laugh first, or who can. who can laugh the last, and they get points. They love that sort of stuff. So I come from that perspective, and then incorporating things that they do, like the gaming, like pretending you're on a game and then there's someone else on the game with you, and they kind of have this interaction with these strangers on these gaming devices. So working, trying to get inside their head and work that way.
Yeah, good luck on that.
It seems to work.
As I
Or-
said, it's that tyranny of distance in age that has me so much more confused about how do I get inside someone so young's head. So I tend to leave that to
I
others.
have one more tip for you though.
Please, please, I'm writing it down. Go.
When there's usually always one or two that really get it and they start laughing in that group. Now you just focus on them, and those people who are just giving you the this is not fun and I don't want to be here. You just seem to, they're not there anymore. And you really focus on these, and that sort of bubbles up to become something. That's what I've found.
It just triggered another thought in my mind. I always say to people, we're laughing with and not at others. And
Yes.
I've often found that the adolescents in particular will laugh at something rather
Yeah.
than with it. So it's getting that transition away from, oh, this is amusing or I'm going to laugh at it, sometimes in an
Yeah.
evil way,
Yeah.
to laughing with it in a very joyful way. COVID had an impact on us all in some ways. What have you personally noticed with youth post COVID? Anything at all interesting?
That was one of my biggest reasons to really get back into laughter yoga, like really focus on it, because there was so many people who were doing what we're doing now. The only way communicating was through the screen. And I went,
Yep.
right, well, I'll just bring laughter to the screen and do that. And what I found is, well, I'm that question I could go many ways. What have I found with the psychology of people?
Yep. Let's start there. Let's start there.
They're still somehow men in the majority, I feel they still feel like they're closed in. Like I'm traveling around, but a lot of people just stay now in their little closed space, which
I
psychologically isn't very healthy.
I remember during COVID, Professor Patrick McGorry, AOM, our mental health campaigner 2010 Australian of the Year, said that this would go on as a shadow pandemic for about a decade. And here we are 5 years on from COVID. And I still mentioned to groups, I said, what if we were still rooted in that time where we haven't got out of that and we haven't healed and haven't progressed from that? And just recently, Mary Kate, we had this fuel crisis due to
Mm.
terrible things happening overseas, and the government said, "Stay at home, don't go out." And I'm going, no, no, there's a triggering device right there
Yes.
that will
Yeah.
take us right back there. So this isolation lives on, and it really hard to get out of that. So I have had the privilege of giving you, I think, several, maybe many jobs out in the West where you normally live when you're not traveling around. Always get rave reviews back from listening and watching you. A lot of people go, well, we know why. But what makes you so good at what you do that the people just love you and want more of you?
I That's a very nice compliment. Thank you. And I always am so grateful for you, Merv, and how generous you are. I maybe I've considered this that was my dad's no longer with us, but my dad was born in Croatia, had a very thick accent, and people didn't understand him. And maybe in my childhood, I had to get to understand people very quickly because of that, or help other people understand what he was saying, and and seeing that everyone's slightly different. There's so many cultures in Australia, and I definitely feel that that has an impact on my way I do things. I really love to have fun. So that obviously is a big thing too. I just want people to feel this joy. So I want to, and I want to get them. I want to give them bang for their buck, you know. I want to make sure that they leave like feeling good. So it's like, how can I do that in a very short amount of time? But yes, but maybe also with my studies, I have variety. So I've had a very unique career where I'm having to deal with very different people, and how do I still be able to relate to them? And then I incorporate that into the laughter yoga.
Nice, well done. I recall introducing you at the conference, and I just said, hang on to your seats because you don't get half Mary Kate, you get full on Mary Kate. She's just going to come at you, and you come at people. There is no misconceptions that here I am absolutely coming for you, but you do it in such a sweet and inviting way, which I think is really interesting. So well done, and thanks, and keep up the good work wherever you may
Thank
be
you.
in the world. What's next for Mary Kate? You're still young, active, energetic, got all of this skill. What's next for you?
I tell you, I'm saying this out loud publicly. You know about this, but I'm not writing a book. I'm going to say I've published a book because I'm going to manifest that because I've been writing this thing for 15 years. I'm going to publish the book very, very soon. And I really hope that I can help not just many, but thousands of people heal emotionally, physically, set on a cellular level. Because if we can heal, we're not so grumpy, then we have a nicer life. And then other people around you have a nicer life too.
And what will the book be called? Can we get a scoop on that?
It's about endometriosis and
Oh,
natural therapies.
talk about that. That is a huge topic at the moment.
Yeah, so it's it's all about healing from endometriosis.
For
And
those for
there's a
those who, for those who don't know, could you explain that, please?
Yeah, endometriosis is where the lining builds up in the endometrial cell of the uterus, and you have I guess it's not just the uterus, actually. That's the point of endometriosis. This lining can build up, and scarring can happen all over the body, actually, but
And
typically in the
and very
uterus.
and very and very painfully.
Excruciatingly
It's
painful. Most women opt for hysterectomy, and I'm massive on trying to help women avoid surgery. Same with trying to help women and men avoid surgery of the gallbladder because it's a very useful organ. But for the endometriosis, it's excruciatingly painful, usually misdiagnosed. Usually, majority of the symptoms can be avoided, in my experience,
okay.
um, if you're given the right treatment. But we're often just given the treatment of take painkillers and have a full hysterectomy. And I've got a very, very unique but very effective and different approach to that, where women can be pain free and not bleed for months at a time.
It's a horrific condition, the whole thing, and very much misunderstood, as you said, and seems to be growing in vast numbers as well too. So there's got
Yeah.
to be some link there somewhere along the line. I think what's interesting about your book is you've got all this knowledge and wisdom, and if you could just bring it all together in a way that just makes sense to people, because some things just don't make sense anymore.
No.
So if you could just bring it together and make sense, it will be a bestseller for sure. I knew we would had no trouble filling the half hour, and we're coming up to the half hour now. So you've been in and around this space, you've done lots and lots of things. If you had just one word of wisdom for someone entering into the laughter game, what would it be?
Oh, just do it. Get get in there and help others. And never be afraid to laugh. Even if you, because as a facilitator, they're going to be times where people are like not wanting to laugh. Just laugh. Keep laughing. Keep smiling. At least keep smiling.
Great words of wisdom, and you epitomize everything that laughter yoga is. So bless you and thank you. Safe travels. I'm guessing I'll be seeing you for a coffee and a catch up in a couple of days' time. Yes? Oh,
Fantastic.
all right. Thank you so much, Mary Kate. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.